And so you mentioned hormones a few times. So maybe you can break it down. So you mentioned cortisol and norepinephrine. Most people are familiar with testosterone and estrogen, and some people are familiar with cortisol, the stress hormone, or adrenaline. Most people don't really understand all of the mechanisms of what these hormones do. So maybe you can help us understand how the hormones work with the brain in particular, and then how all of that impacts what we're talking about with change and adaptability and decision making.
Yeah. And I think maybe just an example, just at the high level, the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands, like those are the master glands that are affecting so much of what's happening for all hormone release in the body, which is key. Now, on the flip side of that, you have all the neurotransmitters happening in the brain that are causing different emotions, different neurochemicals to be released in the brain. And so you have these two things that are constantly happening in balance. And like you said, it could be everything from, cortisol to your thyroid to insulin that could be going off. But it's evenly, because the one thing that I brought up the vagus nerve is because a lot will happen in the brain that then triggers down the vagal nerve that then releases certain, hormones or things within in the body. They're just happening together at the same time. So what happens then is, let's say performance that you're going to be on someone's podcast. You've got to do a presentation in front of a client. And so what immediately is going to happen is you're going to go to a threat or reward state. Usually it's the threat state. I'm not going to do a good job. I'm worried that I'm going to say the right words. And so when we go to a threat state, pretty much what it does is it involves your amygdala, your hippocampus, and the amygdala and hippocampus, kind of two different parts of the threat state. The amygdala looks, and it's the quick acting, like when you're walking down the street and there's a stick and you jump because you thought it was a snake. The amygdala is kind of that. Whereas the hippocampus is more the well thought out kind of strategic type of, okay, that type of threat state. Is this really a threat? Maybe fireworks are going off and your hippocampus saying, no, you're fine. Those are just loud sounds. No threat to you. So based upon that threat state, then you're going to release in the brain and in the body, epinephrine, adrenaline that flow throughout the body that cause your heart to race, your eyes to dilate, all the blood to be pulled into your major organs so that you can be ready for that moment. Well, when it comes to performance, what is key that we're trying to teach people, and you do it all the time by, like you said, cold plunge, doing hard things, is slowing that down, slowing both the brain and the body down, and the heartbeat and the brain, heart to slow down, to go to the parasympathetic, where you have for the brain, you're in your prefrontal cortex, your great decision making, your executive function. I can communicate well with you. I don't see you as a threat. And for the body, meaning I am calm, but I'm excited. So little cortisol, it's a good thing. It's getting ready to perform. Look at athletes, top musicians, performers, chess masters, people who memorize numbers and compete and all those things. That a little cortisol, that gets you ready. It motivates you to be able to perform. Your body's on full alert, like I am ready to go. And when you match the brain and the body, boy, that is when you are just going to be a top performer. So you're slightly having a threat state, but then it's more moving towards that parasympathetic, like I can accomplish this. I'm motivated.
And just for people that aren't familiar with the term parasympathetic, can you explain that?
Oh, sure, you bet. Okay, parasympathetic. Here's the best thing. Adrenaline, it's the gas pedal. So adrenaline's going to get your heart rate going. You can feel it. Your palms are sweaty. You can barely think. That's the gas pedal. And the parasympathetic, that's the brake. We're calming things down. And we'll probably talk about some tools to do that, but that's where you're calming down your brain. You're calming down your heart rate, just really slowing things down and moving to different parts of your brain. So from the amygdala, hippocampus, all the way back up to that prefrontal cortex, which, most people know that's front part of your brain. That's that executive function part of your brain. So back to that thinking brain versus the emotional mammalian brain that, hey, I just have to survive.
Yep.